What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? So I look under the bed again, no feet. I look up again. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you guys haven't already read the title, today I'm just going to be sharing two paranormal experiences that I myself have witnessed and a home that I used to live in when I was smaller. So let's just jump right into it. So basically, me, my grandmother, my uncle Ronnie, and my mom all moved into this house, and it was a two-bedroom house. It was older. I did do my research, and it was built like in 1902, if I'm remembering correctly. Actually, I should have looked up the facts before I started this video, but that's what I could remember. Okay, so while I was editing the video, I stopped real quick and Google search, and the house was actually built in 1943, so I was way off. I apologize, but 1943 the house was built, which was still a pretty long time ago. And the heart of San Bernardino, and it was right across the street from a freeway. So like, here's the house, here's like the main street, here's some bushes, and right over that fence was a freeway, and the freeway was all the way down, and there was actually like a freeway exit like right there. So anyways, and I'll tell you why I'm explaining like the location and the freeway and stuff, because I'm just trying to put two and two together. So we were moving in that night, and we didn't have any power that day. Now, this is when I was about 4 years old, so this is like, you know, like 21 years ago. So it's not like how it is today, where you could just like call the power company and they'll have your lights just turned on. No, like someone actually had to come out and turn on the lights. I don't know what the situation was, why our lights weren't already turned on, but they weren't. So it had to be like mid-afternoon. It already started like getting dark, you know, kind of like dusty and stuff like that. Is that the right word? Dusty. It started getting dark. So we were at the table, and my aunt had came over and she dropped us off food. So we were at the table. It was a round table, and I like a lot of details, so I'm going to be giving a lot of details, because when I read or I, you know, look at videos, I like to know details. So it was a round table, and in front of that table, it was like the dining room, and then there was like an entranceway, and then here's the kitchen, like here's the sink on this side and the stove and fridge on this side, and another entryway, and on the back of the wall it was a washer, dryer, and then on that side of the wall there was the door to go outside to the backyard, and that was the hallway. And if you were to go down that hallway where the washer and dryer, like along that wall, there would be two rooms, and then on this wall there would be a bathroom, and then another entranceway right there, and it'd be the living room, and then you'd end up back in the dining room. So it was like a big circle. So that's how it was. I'm trying to like share the floor plan, just so that when I share the second experience, you guys, I don't have to like, you know, tell the layout of the house. So anyways, I was sitting right here, my mom was sitting right next to me, my uncle Ronnie, and then my grandma was sitting right across from me on the circle table. So we were eating our food, and for some reason, like, I look up and I see, and if I get emotional, I'm sorry, because till this day I just want to know who this person is, what happened. And I've spent so many years looking up the address, looking up history, where I feel like I kind of pieced it up together, but I'm not for sure. So I'm sorry if I get emotional. But anyway, I was sitting, and then I look up, and when I look up where the back door is, I see a man walking, like not fast, just like normal walking, just actually like at a really slow pace, just walking. And I swear to you, I could describe him down to a T. Not the face or anything, because he didn't turn over and look at me, nothing. He just walked straight, and I wasn't scared or anything like that. And yeah, so let me just describe to you how he looked. He was definitely either 80s or like super early 90s. But he was so clear that I could even tell what race he was. Like, I know he was a Caucasian male. He had like dirty blonde hair, and I could tell it was like brushed back. It was a little longer, like to his neck, and it was wavy, not like super wavy, but I mean it had a wave to it. And he had a denim jacket. It was kind of dirty, and it had like the sheep collar. Like the sheep, fur. And then he was wearing like light, dirty denim jeans. And he was wearing some like tan worker boots. And so he walked by and he walked out towards the back door. And I look at my mom and I'm like, there's a guy in here. And my mom was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, a guy just walked out of the back door. And my grandma was like, what do you mean someone walked back out of the back door? My grandma, she's very religious. She's super religious. She does not play that shit. She does not like that shit. She does not like that shit in her home. She does not like that shit being talked in her home. So, and I'm even like that today, where if I feel something, I won't talk about it no more. Or if I experience something, I will not talk about it because I just want it out of my home and I don't want to give it any more energy to grow bigger in my home. So my grandma was like, what do you mean someone's in here? And I was like, I just saw a guy walk out of the back door. And then my uncle got up and he was all like, where? Let me see. And he was like, no one's in here. And I was all like, okay. And so he went and opened the back door and he looked out and he looked in the hallway and nobody. So that was that. My grandma just told, excuse me, my grandma just told me to keep eating and to be quiet. That's all she told me. So that was that. Second experience was later on. It had to be maybe like a year later, maybe like a year and a half later. My aunt and her kids had moved in with my grandma, and at that time my aunt, how many was it? It was, give me a second, for them, and then it was my aunt, so it was 7 total that came to live with us. And mind you, it was just a 2-bedroom house. So my uncle slept in the other room and me and my grandma would sleep together in her room. So nobody wanted to sleep in the living room because everybody was scared to sleep like in the living room because it got super dark, and then all the traffic and freeway and stuff like that, it would just make like a lot of noise, like creepy noises and stuff like that. So nobody wanted to sleep in the living room. We did have a pretty big hallway, so a couple of my cousins slept in the hallway, and then a couple of them slept on the floor around the bed. But let me give you like the back details on why I was sleeping where I was sleeping. So here's my grandma's bed, here's the entranceway, and then here's a mirror, her dresser, a mirror, and then there's like free space like all right here, right? So there's free space in front of the doorway, and then alongside the dresser, and then on the other side of the bed. So me and my cousin Natalie, she's like a year or two older than me. It was my grandma on the bed and my aunt on the bed, and both of us wanted to sleep on the bed, and my grandma was like, there's not enough room for all of us to sleep on the bed. And then my aunt was like, okay, you guys do rock paper scissors, and that's how we'll figure out who's gonna sleep on the bed. So we play rock paper scissors and I lose, so I had to sleep on the floor. And before I went to go lay down, like everyone went to go lay down, I had went to the kitchen and I had got some apple slices. So when I was already laying, I was laying at the foot of the bed. So here's the bed, and I was laying like this, like on the alongside of it. And for some reason, I had woken up. Well, I'm totally skipping over a part why I woke up. So I had got the apple slices, and stuff, and I hid them under the bed because I would get hungry and I would wake up and I would like want a snack or something. So I had got the apple slices and I put them under the bed and I went to sleep. And for some reason I woke up and I was like, oh, my apple slices. So I started like chewing on my apple slices. And for some reason, and it's always, I know it's crazy, but for some reason, like I like pick up my head to see like if everyone's asleep. I'm sorry, you guys. My stomach still drops and I still get scared to this day. And like I said, if I get emotional any part during this video, I'm really sorry. So I stood up and I'm eating my apple slices and towards um I look towards the entrance of the room. And I just see this black shadow of a man, and he was a very tall man, and it was just black. And there's no way, I'm sorry, there's no way that I wouldn't have been able to see features or anything like that, because my grandma would leave the bathroom light on. So the bathroom light would be shining, and she would also leave the kitchen light on. So like how I told you guys, the kitchen light was right there by the hallway and the bathroom light. So there's lights coming in from both ways. So there's no way I would have not been able to see features or to see if it was one of my cousins or anything like that. So mind you, my aunt, she had two boys. She had one that was younger, that was like maybe like 2 years older, and there's no way he could reach that height, and then another one, and he was a teen, but again, there's just no way he would have been that tall. And this man was tall. He was probably as tall as the doorway now that because I still like picture perfect in my head, and just very tall, stern. And when I looked at him, I got the most upsetting feeling in my body. I was super scared. And this other part is gonna confirm that it wasn't my cousins and it wasn't my uncle, because my uncle was a very short man. So, and trust me, I already tried ways to justify it, to figure it out, and there's just nothing behind it. So I was so scared, so I like went back down with my apple slice in my mouth, right, and I'm just laying there, and I look under the bed, right, because it's a clear shot, and there's no feet, there's no nothing there. So I'm like, okay, it's gone. So I get up and the man is still there. So I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? So I look under the bed again, no feet. I look up again, and the shadow man is still there. The image of this man is still there. So I started crying and I started praying, and I laid down and I prayed and cried myself to sleep. I prayed so hard that night. I've never prayed that hard in my entire little life. And I was praying and I was crying and I was like begging God, please protect me, like shield me, Lord. Like I was saying all of these crazy things. I was so afraid, and I didn't want to wake up my grandma because I was afraid like it was gonna like catch me or like do something to me. So I just left it like that. And those were my two experiences that I had in that house. We lived in that house maybe for like another year or so because we eventually lost it. So I didn't get any more experiences or see anything, but I definitely did feel stuff. I could not be in the house like alone, like say if my grandma was out, because we used to have fruit trees in the back. So if my grandma was out like watering plants or anything like that, I would not go in the house by myself. If she was going into the house for something, that's when I would go into the house and like run for something. Like if I wanted a drink or something, I would hurry up and go and get it. I never stood in the rooms by myself. Like if Like my grandma was watching TV in the living room, I'd be right there with her. Like I wouldn't leave her side or anything like that. But that house was a very busy house because, you know, all my aunts would come by and drop off their kids. My grandma would babysit. My grandma was like always babysitting, or we always had like visitors come over, and usually someone was always like living with us. So, you know, it'd be like my cousins and they would have their kids, or like it'd be my aunts or something like that, you know. So the house was never empty to where, you know, I would have to avoid being alone because I was always with somebody. Like there was always company. So my research on the house, I did some research on the house, and before my grandma, there was two other owners. So yeah, the first owner passed away in a train accident. So I always try to put like two and two together. I was like, well, maybe he was the tall gentleman that I had seen in the doorway. The second owner, um, I wanted to say the second owner and the first owner were related. Like that was his son. That's kind of what I was getting when I was getting all the information, because they did have the same last names. So, and then the son passed away in the early 80s from a car accident as well. So I was all like, okay, well, this probably has to be him, you know, this probably has to be, you know, the person that passed away, and they passed away suddenly and didn't know, and they just come back home because that's all they know, right? Like they don't know or didn't know that they passed away. Also, since we did have that freeway in front of us, I Google searched like car accidents from back in the day. I even looked at old newspaper clippings that were surrounding that area and stuff, to see if maybe there was like a car accident right there. Maybe the person just got stuck in that area and we're just like, you know, his roaming area or anything like that. So I would try to get any type of info. I was like Googling everything. I was trying to look for death records. I couldn't really find much or anything like that. But to this day, I always wonder, like, who was that man, the first man that I saw. Like, I saw him so perfectly. Like, it was just so crazy. Like, I just saw him so perfectly. And yeah, like to this day, I want to know who it is. What happened? Like, did you pass away in the house? You know, were you that person that I found in that the news article clipping of the car accident? You came back home. Like, I know that I saw two different people. There were two different vibes. It was two different things going on. The first one, it just felt really sad, and like he was just walking like really slow and sluggish, like if he just had the rest of his life to do so. And the other one that I saw in the doorway was just the most dark and scariest feeling. And not too long ago, I passed by the house, because I don't live far from it. I live probably like less than 5 minutes from it, and I parked in front of the house. My mother's dad's brother owns the house now. He is the fourth owner. He moved into it after me and my grandma moved out of it. And yeah, I stopped in front of the house and I just sat there and I look at it, and I'm just like, just something about that house. I always had an attachment to it. So yeah, hopefully you guys like this story time. Everything that I'm telling you guys is 100% true. I've told family members, I've told my friends, my boyfriend, like even my aunt who was staying with us during that time when I saw the second, you know, I don't even know what to call it, him, I don't know. I even told her about it, and you know, she believed me 100%. It's just like, I don't know. Everything I'm saying is completely true. Take what you guys want from it. Um, if there's any like websites or anything like that where I could like view more in depth about a home or anything like that, go ahead and feel free to leave them in the comments, because I would really love to keep doing my research until I genuinely find out who this person was. So thank you guys for watching, and have a good